tremendous pressure in a relationship. It has been identified as the three most common stressors in moving are increased argument, lack of intimacy, and financial pressure. My guests today are Dotun and Jada Oluwashina. They emigrated to Canada just 4 years into their marriage and with their twin children just over a year. We want to know how this has affected them and how they coped with the pressures of the move. Thank you. Hi, Dotun and Jada. How are you today?
We are doing great. Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much for coming on the show today. I know it's early morning in Canada.
Yes.
And we are
30 a.m. here.
Wow. Thank you so much. And the children are resting well, growing.
Doing good.
We missed you in London.
Likewise.
The thing is crucial.
COVID-19 has, well, what has COVID-19? We are all doing staycation. Nobody's moving anywhere. At least if you can avoid it. Traveling is not essential at the moment.
No.
Not at all. Yes, we want to talk about your move. Dotun, you suddenly woke up one day and said we are moving to Canada. Is that right?
That was right.
Okay, now walk us through the process. What led to this big change?
So after Jada and myself, when we got married and we start planning about having kids. So about the time that the twins came, so I've tried a lot of things and it's evident that I have to do something because I remember when we were like having courtship and we went to Reverend Umishade and he asked me a question. That question was the turning point because he asked me what job am I into, and I told him, and he looked at me and he said, "Do you think that is enough to sustain a family?" Ordinarily, on some other day, I would have taken it as what? I wouldn't be saying that to me, but God impressed it on my heart at that very moment that listen, yesterday's success is not enough for today. And that was when I knew that I don't have what it is to be a husband as well as a father. So I begin to look for another opportunity and then we start talking. I know she liked to travel, like I like to travel. If not for the COVID, I was telling her the other day that I've virtually traveled everywhere in the world on my phone. I just looking at what I can do. So at that point in time, I start planning and we start working towards leaving England for Canada.
And were you fully into this, Jada? Did you embrace the idea of relocating?
Oh, yes. Like you said, I've always been a traveler. And one of the things we had in common was that we both like to explore the world. So relocating was a contender anyway. We knew that was on the cards. And it was when we were going to make the move was the question. It was a big step, obviously, but we knew we wanted to do it. And we were bold enough because we wanted change. It was scary, but we knew if we didn't take that step, we would never make it, as in like make that step for change. So it was on the cards and something that we both wanted. So that was good for us. It was just when we had to leave, it was very emotional and we didn't anticipate the emotions that came with it. Leaving your families behind, all that growing up in England. But I wanted to give my kids a different lease of life. I wanted to explore the world more than I did. So I was up for it.
Okay. So what steps did you take to achieve your goal of moving? What were the major steps you took before moving?
So the major step was researching into the possibility of what we can, the skill we've been able to acquire in England, what we can transfer it to while we get to Canada. And we were exploring the legal option as well. So as coming into live here in Canada. So fortunately enough, we were able to, go through that bottleneck. So we applied. There's a program they call Federal Skill Worker Program, because she's a registered nurse in England. So we're able to use that option. So which give you residency. So from day one. So as soon as we landed, we got our residency there at the airport. So that was the first thing. So coming into Canada then is just to start looking for work. One thing I've done before coming in is that we came to look for an apartment. So that was when Jada and the kids were still back in England. So I have to come first, look for where we could stay. So then go back to England, bring the family along, and then we start our life from day one. It was rough, but God was on our behalf. He was able to see us through that process, and yeah, we've been translating from one thing to another, but it's been upward and upward.
So, Jada, so you left London, packed your bag and baggage with the young children, and up sticks to Canada. How was it when you got to Canada? What was your initial experience?
Mind you, when we were in England, I had the option. I had a job opportunity in Qatar, United Arab Emirates, but we weighed our option. We didn't want a situation because we had friends that have had experience of going on visa to any country, and your visa runs out. The challenges you face afterwards. We didn't want that. We've come from a country where we're solid, and we wanted stability for our kids. We didn't want the helter skelter of the search for visa or what next. So we chose Canada. On landing in Canada, I must say, I didn't do much research because obviously I was still quite fragile having the twins. So I didn't do much research, to be honest. But touchdown in Canada was fine. The weather in April was a throwback. I did not expect that. It's actually snowed in April. So that was the first challenge because I wasn't ready. Even though I had packed for winter, I was anticipating winter in like September, October. So we're all in summer gears, and then we touched down and it was freezing cold, probably like minus 10 or minus.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was a shock for me. But obviously I had to adjust. It was about Survivor and the kids as well. Yeah, that was a main shock for me. People were overwhelmingly nice, I must say, very welcoming. Yeah, but then the expense on the tax system is another shocker I came to realize. Once you buy your goods, on top of that, you pay your tax on exit. So I wasn't prepared for that. Even though I had experienced that in the States, their tax here is much higher than the States. So I didn't see that coming. Other than that, yeah, those are the two basic things that I first encountered.
So how easy was it for you to integrate into the society, Dotun? How easy was it for you and the children to integrate? Was it easy to find a job when you arrived there?
For the kids, I think we made the right choice coming over here, because they've been, even from at the airport, the immigration officer said, "Oh, welcome to Canada. I think your kids are going to be quickly integrate into the society more than you guys." And that was how it was. When we came in, the kids were like, "Oh, this has always been home for them." And we both look at ourselves and like, well, that's one of the reasons why we are here. And for me, like she rightly said, it was more of a survivor at the very beginning, because one thing is that, yes, we have an apartment, but there was no furniture. There was nothing, absolutely nothing. So right from day one, we slept on like a bunk,
Like a sofa bed.
like a sofa bed, the four of us. So even though for a few days we were in an hotel, where when they are getting that place ready for us. So those have been the kind of challenges that we face in the earliest days. So it's more of a survivor, and then going out there Jada was with kids at home, so I was going out there trying to see what I can do so as to, because we have to start earning money, even though we still have some money that we brought from England. But we felt that if we start spending this money and there's nothing coming in, then we'll be having, yes, we'll be having a kind of problem as time goes on. So the very beginning was more of a survivor for us, and it helps because I was able to go anywhere and anywhere, talk to anybody. One thing about Canada is networking. If we are able to network, I believe God has placed people at every certain point in this journey for us that will help us through that door, even if we go personally and that door is shut against you. But if, because there's somebody somewhere that God has placed with us in this journey, so if we go to that person and network, that door opens. And that's how we've been able to navigate some bottlenecks that have been against us from day one.
Obviously, you were in a pediatric nurse. Am I correct? In England before you left. So, what were your plans regarding your profession, Jada? Did you have any plans, or was it your plans to stay with the children?
No, initially, to be honest, I had two minds. I was in two minds about it. I wanted to further my career, probably go for my master's. But touching down here, I was a bit nervous, anxious, if anything, about leaving my kids to a stranger. The system here of the care system looking after kids, it's not too bad. It's quite good, I must say. But I was just very fretful, you know. Like I said, I really had a challenging experience with my children's pregnancy. So I was very, very motherly, very, very attached to them. And I just couldn't be anything happening to them. Especially my girl, you know, she went through a lot of post-birth operations, and really, really challenging time for her. Survival was God's grace. So I just couldn't bear myself to leave her or anything happen to her. We had one scare where she was quite unwell. And I think that was my wake-up call to say, you know, money is good, but are you willing to sacrifice this child, considering what you've gone through? So I think that was my wake-up call in deciding that, you know what, I'm going to stay with the kids. I know that the God that made us come this far will not let us lack anything good. And we haven't, to be honest. Yeah, we haven't lived the extravagant lifestyle we would love to live, or traveling 4 times a year, but we're not doing too bad. We're not doing too bad, to be honest. And God has really been good. So yeah, that was my decision to stay with the kids while he, goes out there and explore. And I have been social networking as well, just to keep sane and to help my kids develop. They are thriving well. I have no concerns in their development. So that was my ultimate goal.
So when you arrived did you have any major stressors? Because I'm thinking now, you are in a country, you don't have a steady job. All you had is the money you brought from United Kingdom. So what were the major stressors? I mean, there's not a lot of money coming in. You didn't have furniture in the house. What were the stressors you were coping in, and how did you overcome that? And what strain did it cause your relationship?
A lot. A lot. I must be honest, looking back, that was one period in my life that I think for both of us, he made us to realize that we only have each other, whatever it is, that the success we've been able to achieve so far is because we've been able to work together as a team. So even though there might be some kind of weakness, even though there's some kind of mistake, but the moment we realize that we've only got one another, and then we try to talk to each other, not talk about one another to others, but we focus on one another and say, listen, yes, mistake has been made. Let's realize that so far so good. Everything that we've been able to achieve in this relationship has been because we've worked together as a team. Because there's some things that people have told us in the past that, this is not achievable. But when we sat down and said, hey, this is where we are. This is where we want to get to. This is what we have to do. And then we come together and decide that, okay, let's do it. We've always been able to achieve success. So that was where we have to get to. We have to go back to that and say, listen, let's rewind this thing. Let's rewind the tape and start from the beginning. We've been able to move from step A to B because we have worked together as a team. So when we start having that discussion, things start turning around and we start navigating all those stress of lack of money. We are not in our career. Oh, why do you? Because
Oh, the blame, yeah, sharing the blame game.
yeah, the blame game is like, oh, and then people also are projecting that, oh, that guy just took you to Canada to go and wreck your career. And and I was like, listen, it's a sacrifice. I remember my mom will always tell me something that, Dotun, it's not the day that you are born that you will get to this height. It's a process. So keep working at it. And that's what we've been doing now. We keep working at it. So, and God has been graciously graceful to us. So even though there might be like an obstacle, but as if we keep working towards working, does people gain. So we've been able to navigate the stress of finance. That's one basic thing because we were not like coming from over like 5,000, like 4,000 pounds in a month. So, and then all of a sudden, we are not even having up to $1,200, which is even like 800 pounds a month with 4 kids. And with 2 kids, we always try to say 4 of us, with 2 kids and us. So that was a very difficult period in our life. But glory be to God, we were able to talk to each other and we realized that so far so good. God has been gracious in our life because every time we choose to work together as a team, things do happen.
I know when things are not going well, I usually have a conversation with myself. If I think, yes, maybe I'm reacting rather than acting. What were the conversations you were having with yourself in those early years, Jida, when things were not going the way you thought it will?
I think one of the, I won't say mistake, I didn't really start talking to myself initially. I was seeking help from outsiders, I was just wanting encouragement, support, but it wasn't happening. It was all negative, to be honest. And then one day I woke up. I wasn't even sleeping. It was that bad. I wasn't sleeping. If I was blessed, I probably get an hour keep. Mostly it was more tears, to be honest. God. And my dad was still alive then. And I know he encouraged us to go. He gave us his blessings to go. So I was thinking, do I call him now and say, I failed? How, I need to move back to England. But I couldn't because I knew that he'd be disappointed. I knew that I would probably kill him because he was rooting for me to do more than he did. So one day I woke up and I was like, I have a creator. He wouldn't have brought me this far to suffer. He has sustained me beyond prison, beyond drugs, beyond so many things that my counterparts, my friends have encountered. Now he wouldn't fail me or stop, loving me or stop doing wonders for me. So obviously that's when I turned back to him. And then obviously we started talking because we weren't talking for weeks or even months. We were living together, but the communication was zero, to be honest. It was that bad. And I think it was the worst time in that period in our relationship. But yeah, when I started talking to God, and he said to me, you can't do it. You've always been in charge. You've always been in control. You have to let go. And I come from a very strong family. My mom is like Iron Lady. She's always in control. And I think that's where it stems from. But I had to let go and just relax and let God take control. And I think that's when things started changing. The improvements came. Communication is vital, very vital. And then just bring it all to God. Bring it all to God, to be honest. Because you get positive and you get negative feedback from people. They want to live the same dream. They want to do something different. But it's having the boldness to do it. It's a big change, don't get me wrong.
Yes, it is a bold step for you to take. A very big,
Yeah.
yeah, a very bold one.
But I did it for my family. We did it for the family, for the children most especially. And yeah.
Fantastic. So I'm going to ask both of you, what sort of advice or encouragement will you give a person, Dotun, who might be looking to taking these bold steps that you have taken? What would you tell them?
The first thing is always to take it to God in prayer. Number one is very essential, so that you have a like a foundation. So do your research, have a plan. So and then let's say take for instance a country like Canada. We were in Ontario for like 3 years, almost over 3 years before we decided to move from Ontario to British Columbia. The thing about Canada is that you have to do your research, and because if you go like in Ontario, I won't even want my enemies to go to Ontario. But the thing is that somebody might get to Ontario, depending on what you are looking for. Somebody might get to Ontario and it might work for them. But because of what we are trying to achieve, so we decide to move from Ontario and be in British Columbia. So do your research. It's very essential. Know what you want. And then you cannot sit down with your wife, with your husband and say, listen, these are our options. This is what we need to get to where we are going. Yes, we're going to go through some challenges, but as long as you keep the bigger picture in front of you at all times, and then realize that you can't do anything by your own power, but you allow God to take you through the process. As long as you are holding on to each other and holding on to Jesus, then everything will be fine at the end of it. But don't try and do everything in your own self-will.
What would you have done if Jada had said she didn't want to relocate to Canada? What would you have done if she didn't agree to move?
If she disagree, I will take it, like I said, I will take it back to God in prayer, because like she rightly said, there was a point in time when we are having power struggle between ourselves. Like my wife, she's like, yeah, this is what I want and this is what we want to do. But after a while, right now that we relocated from England to Canada, she changed. She right now, so she realized that you can't actually change a man. It's only God that does that. So if she felt, oh, Dotun, this thing that you are doing, it's like, but she take it to prayer. And at the end of the day, when we have that conversation, um, the one thing is that fear of God is very essential. So when we have that conversation, she's right, So I try to amend something. So that's very vital between husband and wife. Let's take out the power struggle. If there's no power struggle, if we cannot talk to one another as a partner who want the success of the other, because for her, I'm always looking for her success, and I know she's always looking for my success. So when we have that basic foundation, every other thing is very easy. That okay, listen, we are not in this as a rival, we are in this as a team. So your success is my success, my success is your success. So that's how I believe uh, people should function, that people should work their differences. She she is a very strong-minded individual, which has worked for us. There was a time I don't like it at all.
I can imagine.
Yeah, being a Nigerian guy and looking at my dad and my mom, I've never seen them having a conversation. My dad, this is what we want to do, and that's it. So I'm like, when we got married, I'm like, why will I have to tell you something now? We have to be having this conversation. But now, I believe for a marriage to grow, people should have conversation. It might be tough, it might be difficult, but we have to go through that process. And then at that process, as the wife is changing, then myself as the husband, I'm changing too. So, and then we have a common ground, we have a common focus, and we start working towards it.
Fantastic. Thank you, Dr. Jada, what advice would you give to a woman who is supporting her husband, who is determined to make changes, who is determined to follow his vision, who is determined to follow his destiny? What sort of advice would you give such a woman?
I would say patience and endurance. I think those two, if you have those two, that it will equip you to do anything. Patience and endurance. Patience in the sense that there's so many things that you're going to see that's going to irritate you, especially if you're independent. If you've always you know your way about things, and you've grown up to be who you want to be as an individual, and now you have to calm down to someone else's beliefs per se, but what their heart desire is. And my husband being a very cultural person, I'm sure you can relate, the massive difference. So yeah, just patience and learning to accommodate. That endurance comes as well, comes in hand in hand. Because once you can endure someone, it's not even about tolerating, it's learning to see where they're coming from. And then aligning your own mental states to accommodate that, because even though you're from two different backgrounds, you might be on the same wavelength, or you both aspire the same thing, but you're just coming from two different avenues, So I would advise patience and endurance. And just
wow. Thank you so much. I mean, patience and endurance, supporting your husband, you husband knowing your wife and recognizing that yet you are a team Oluwashina, and not allowing anybody to come in between you. Yes, team Oluwashina is going strong and stronger by the day. Fantastic. Well done. Thank you so much. I'm sure our viewers today would have taken so much from there, because I know a lot of people out there who are looking to take these steps, and fear of the unknown is one of the things that they don't want to, that is preventing them from making these steps. And some people who are used to what they have now to think that, oh yeah, I'm now going into the unknown. How are we going to survive? What are we going to do? But yet you followed your dreams. Yes, it was tough, it was difficult. Nothing good never really comes easy. You have to do what you need to do. Trusting God that is supporting you, putting your faith in Him. It's so amazing. I'm encouraged and I'm challenged by your story today. And I'm blessing you and say that may Lord increase you more and more, you and your children, in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. And may you see them grow and flourish in this new country. And may you enjoy one another day by day, growing together, loving each other more and more by the grace of God. So thank you so much for coming on the show today. And I want to say, Lord, hopefully we'll see you in London soon. And maybe this will even encourage me to come to Canada, encourage us to come and visit in Canada by God's grace. So we are looking forward to the end of the pandemic, when we can get back on the plane by the grace of God. So thank you very much and have a wonderful day. I'm sure there's a lot that you need to do today. Thank you very much. Enjoy your day.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much. So that's the end of the show for today. And I know it's even me here, I've been married for over almost 25 years now. I've learned a lot from what they've said today, and I want to believe that you have as well. Team, whatever your name is, going strong, supporting one another, standing up for one another, and not letting anybody come in between you. Have a great day and see you soon. Thank you for watching. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.